Peace. Quick look. Think fast. Think fast. Want to speak on this timeline shift we're going through and how the universe spoke through a Rick and Morty, a Rick and Morty episode, but also I want to get to telling the story of how the red being from one of my DMT trips, which I have to remember what video it was in the past, but like I spoke on one of the older videos, how I met up with a red being, which I bring it up in a lot of my videos, where that red being told me why they don't manifest in the physical, because we would find them too hideous, and and basically we wasn't prepared to deal with them. Well, that being appeared on the same Rick and Morty episode that was showing me, basically like a personification of showing me the timeline lapses, kind of like a hint or a sign towards it. That same episode had the red being from my DMT trip in it, and I know you could probably say like, man, how you know that was the red being from your DMT trip? And that's when, intuition and just feeling the vibe of the situation, how some things are just too surreal or too, there's no coincidences in this universe. Let's just put it like that. But this red being on the Rick and Morty episode, look, he was just only a little smaller than what I envisioned. As a matter of fact, on the Rick and Morty episode, he was like the time police. As a matter of fact, and getting to the point of like all this timeline shifting that we're going through. But, the red being was on the episode, and I even, in essence, I did get a little bit of a channel where it was like, that basically the being came back around. I was like, that's me on that episode. Yeah, kind of like as if to just show me and just to play, just to say, just a friendly hello again, in essence, you know what I'm saying? But through being in a cartoon as a cartoon character. So that was pretty cool. But we are definitely experiencing a lot of timeline shifting. So if you're finding yourself, now of course when you're in the moment, you of course lose track of time and things of this nature, but we're really going through this timeline shifting. So, you might be losing track of what today is, or not even say on that level, because anybody, but it's like more on a level of not remembering if you did something that you did yesterday. Was it a week ago, or was it yesterday, or was it, you know what I'm saying? It's like almost like not say confusing, but just again, a timeline shifting, almost like a Mandela effect type of situation going on, where you know that sock was right there, and all of a sudden that sock gone, or your piece of quartz, man, it was sitting in this little box for the longest, and I went and go look the other day, now it's gone. Like those type of situations. I'm walking down the street, and that ain't used to be there. Where that sign come from? You know what I'm saying? Like those type of situations are going on now. Matter of fact, in the Rick and Morty episode was also a confirmation on that, where they basically they shifted timelines through uncertainty. So basically, like in every dimension, there exist multiple dimensions. Like right now, there are multiple dimensions that exist before I even speak. Like I could say that, hey, ha, like say for instance, so however many different words I could say, that's how many different dimensions exist right now, as far as like the possibilities or potential of what could manifest. So with that being said, like that basically broke time into two dimensions, like basically living out two dimensions at once, but it was through uncertainty, and basically like where both beings are the self wasn't certain, so it separated into two different dimensions, and it would separate even more the more. So say for instance, now that you got these two halves, and say for instance I'm talking like I am, and on the other dimension I'm saying the same exact thing until myself in the other dimension say something a little different. Now that creates a separation. Now with that separation in those two dimensions, if another one of myself in one of those dimensions say something different, then bam, it'll break off into another timeline again. That's how I'm explaining to you too, how the episode was showing it and personifying it. But it's also, how multiple dimensions exist. Like the possibilities of me doing anything right now in this moment. Like it's possible that I got in some dimension I got naked and dance in front of you know what I'm saying, dance in front of the camera. and in a different dimension I eat my cell phone. You know what I'm saying? Like there's multiple dimensions within this, not counting the fact that you could travel to different, physical dimensions or basically galaxies that have multiple dimensions within themselves. Like everything has multiple dimensions. Within my cells, there are possibilities for it to do different things, you know what I'm saying? And that timeline shift, or just dealing with, I ain't gonna say the overstanding of a timeline shift, but just a timeline shift is really like going on and happening right now, where we experiencing that, that feels like what may be illusion or the Mandela effect right now because of the timeline shift, and we're moving into a different, frame of consciousness. Because also the collective consciousness is what manifests our physical. You know what I'm saying? So now that you got more people waking up, it's creating like a timeline separation or shift to a certain extent. You know what I'm saying? So we're moving into a newer energy, but it's still some of that old paradigm or that older dimension still existing. So it's kind of like, feeling that separation of the dimensions, but also feeling it moving though towards, this new consciousness, this newer dimension of possibilities. But if you're experiencing anything dealing with, being thrown off by time, or, just like I say, feeling like something you did 2 days ago was a week and you can't recall, because again, being in the now, I be like that just in general, but now you may see it a little more because of, the dimensional shifts that we're going through right now. The paradigms is really, pulling apart, and we're moving into this new paradigm. So these timelines is kind of shifty, and you may experience this shift or see it visibly for yourself, as far as, like I say, something that was right down the counter, it was just right down the counter, and now it's gone, like where it walked to, like that type of stuff. Peace. Have it now. Now is the vibrate. And before I go again, like with all these cartoons, as a matter of fact, and a suggestion, matter of fact, Rick and Morty is not my cartoon. There's nothing, Dylan. I have no copyright over the. I'm just, suggesting. But Rick and Morty is a cool cartoon in which it embraced the fullness of the universe. So it has some darkness and has dark humor in it, as well as like life lessons in it, and just a lot of dimensional travel, which is really the truthfulness of the universe. Like Rick and Morty is really how the universe is, like real talk. And y'all should definitely check that cartoon out. But it definitely was basically like a omens through my spirit guides to say, hey, look, even more to say timeline shifting. Even with that red being in the cartoon was also like a timeline shifting thing, also being thrown into the situation, from my experience. But that's basically it. Just don't trip out, don't flip out. And with all these things we're going through, if you feel like things are getting too overwhelming, take them shoes off and go stand in the grass, go stand on some ground, earth yourself, and just eliminate thinking from the situation. I mean, shit, if you're overthinking and not getting things accomplished, why not sit down and just, just like relax and, stop trying to fight through things and just, calm yourself and let things come to you. So, with the timeline shifting, if you're feeling a little, crazy or nothing, don't overanalyze, don't, just fall back and just, let things go. Be aware of what's going on, but don't trip out over it. Ain't nothing to like, oh, timeline shift, oh, this and that. Nah, just, and just honestly, it's just me just sharing the information, because again, the spirit guides kind of, showed me examples of it and brought me towards videos. So I realized, hey, they telling me to make a video about it and make people aware of the situation. So that's what I'm doing right. But again, peace. Happy now. Now is the vibrate. We're not going too far in the future. We're not going too far in the past. Right now. Peace.